This is what we are going to learn in this lesson. This is an oval base woven in plain randing completely. Also the separation of the side sticks is in plain randing. Everything here is in plain randing with the exception of the final locking round. We are only going to look at randing and French randing for oval bases. Although there are much more techniques and there are many different approaches to weaving oval bases. The problem with oval bases is that they twist. Once you use pairing and wailing, they twist. Now, many methods have been devised to use pairing and counteract the twist. For example, chain pairing using this one round of regular pairing followed by another round of reverse pairing. There are so many different approaches, and I am going to talk more about this in the theoretical lesson that I'm going to do. But I'm not going to teach any of these approaches that includes pairing, because I don't believe in it. I believe in using plain randing and French randing. These are the best methods. These are the simplest methods. These are the best looking methods. I mean, why use a technique that creates a twist and then devise some method to counteract the twist? Why not just use randing, which doesn't create any twist? This makes the most sense to me. So we're going to learn randing and French randing. This base has an odd number of side sticks. It has 7 side sticks, and there is a difference when making oval bases in randing. There is a difference between an odd number and an even number of sticks in the side. So in this first lesson we're going to look at an odd number, which is much simpler and natural, and in the next lesson we are going to learn what to do when there's an even number. We're just going to take a minute to show how to assemble the base sticks. It's not that much different from round bases. You basically follow the same guidelines. Curve faces downwards, straighten the sticks, and in fact I took some time to straighten the longer sticks because they were quite crooked, still are. Also, I've arranged them in the order that I wish to insert them. Maybe this one should be here, I don't know. Where the thicker ones are on the middle. There's not much difference. So I'm going to start from this side. Yeah. Simple as that. About this one, let's see. Pretty straight. Maybe this one has a curve facing the other way. Yeah, perfect. So now we're going to continue in inserting the base sticks. And as I said earlier, I've arranged them here in the order that I wished to insert them. So this was the first, second, third one. Now this is the thicker side, so I might actually thread it through the other side like this. Now we start spreading the middle sticks. Perfect. So I would have the middle stick. In this case I have a middle stick, and usually you want to have a middle stick. You want to have an uneven number in the middle because you may want to handle for your basket. If you know that you don't want to handle, you can have an even number. But if you want to handle, I think it is best to have a middle stick. I have to think about what I want the spaces to be. As you can see in both sides we have doubled base sticks. I think those are pretty decent spaces. They're not too big, not too small. Yeah, that's it. You can begin. So usually for rending, I just start in 2 places in the middle, one by one like that. If you want a more even weave, you can maybe even alternate sides, but usually I just do it like this. Now, since we are in an odd number of sticks here in the sides, I can just work with the first one separately and progress with that one for now. Maybe the spaces aren't perfectly even here. Great. An odd number of side sticks is actually easier, I think, or simpler, but as I will show in the next lesson, shouldn't be too complicated to actually use an even number of side sticks. So maybe now those are getting too flimsy. Oh, and I don't know if you saw, but I've actually inserted the buttons into the opening at the very start. So I don't want to join here. If the weavers are just going to make precisely one round, it's going to be a problem. So I'm going to actually switch to longer weavers, and I'll get back to you. Alright, so I got some longer weavers, and maybe, no, I think I can join here. Joining tip to tip, making sure not to use the very, very flimsy end. So I'm inserting it a little more to the inside. Let's make another round here. Alright, now maybe to avoid one-sidedness, I'll insert the other one with the butt end first. This is not very good. Oh, you know what? Now, after the second, this is the second from the back. Alright, that's good. So we actually made 2 went over this 2 times from the front and from the back. Here too. Let's just see if we can fasten the work. Alright, so now we can start separating the side sticks. We can actually make one more round if we wish to, but I think we can separate now. When you have an odd number of side sticks, you will always separate into an odd number. Otherwise, the weave is not going to work out correctly. So in this case, I have 5 in the middle and 2 more in the side, so that's 7. And I'm not going to separate into 7 right away. I prefer to make a partial separation for now, so I might separate into 3. Usually when you have an odd number, you will separate into 3, unless you want to make a full separation for some reason. So that will be 2, 3 in the middle, and 2 more like this. But I prefer that those 3 in the middle will already be kinked towards their opening side right from now. They don't really kink. This will make our lives easier later on. So now maybe I'll actually join here before I get to the side, or maybe not. This one is quite thick, and I prefer to I already have 2 joints there at one place. It's pretty annoying, but I joined once again because I want a new one to separate. So this will be 2. Hope you can see what I'm doing. 2, 3, and 2, and everything works out correctly. If I'd separated the side sticks into an even number, the weave would not have worked out correctly. So now here, it's better to pre-kink all of your side sticks. These as well, although we're not really going to separate them now. Alright. So we have 2, these are 2, and then 3 in the middle, and then 2 more, and everything works out correctly. Let's use our bodkin here to fasten. Alright, perfect. Now it doesn't, in fact, it doesn't have to be 2, 3, and 2. It can be 3, 2, and 2, or 2, 2, and 3, but I prefer symmetry. Three and 2. Now we're doing the opposite, and I think I'm going to join here. the joining here tends to be in the same spots all the time, so I'm going to do my best to avoid it. Let's just trim a little bit to make our lives easier. Perfect. So now let's join this one first. Once again, do not use the very, very flimsy tip. Insert it a little bit. Now let's just see if we can try to arrange everything correctly here. I don't really like this space here. Let's see if we can do something about it. See, there's a small space between those two sticks, but it's okay. Okay, so for now, I just continue like this until it's going to be wide enough to separate them into singles easily. For now, it's going to be pretty hard. Now, what tends to happen here sometimes is that the weave tends to get wide at this point here and here. So it's very important to fasten the work at the first rounds, and especially in those areas. Alright, other side. Alright, this one is used up. Once again, I have it joined in the same place. It's pretty annoying. Now, to really, as you can see, the weave tends to be not 100% even. So to really even it out nicely, I kind of like to pay attention to what's going on. If I see that one side tends to have thicker weavers, then I'm going to take care of it, and slowly and carefully make sure that everything is evened out. That's 2, 3, and 2. Yeah. Next side. Should be fine like this. Alright. I still don't separate them into singles because I feel like the spaces are still quite small here. Alright, so now what actually happens here, that when you start separating into singles, this first round of this first row of separation doesn't look perfect because there seems to be an alternation here and then here not. It doesn't look perfect, but it's sorting itself out in the second round. Now it's not so bad also, it's fine I guess, but if you wish to avoid that look, you can actually use pairing to do that. I'm not going to show it now. I'll show it in the next base. I think separating with just rending is maybe simpler. No, I don't want to say that. Separating with pairing can also be pretty simple once you get the principle and once you know how to do it. Alright, I'm just gonna wait in the upper side. Now, next weaver. See, with all of these joints here in the back, it's really hard to tell what's going on, so I always love to wait on the upper side. This is, I think this is an unattractive king, so just gonna join here. This weaver is a bit short. Let's use this one. So now we just continue like this until we finish our base. I just decided to stop here, although I can continue weaving. I prefer to stop now, and as you can see, there are a lot of joints in the back, a lot of trimming. This is usually the case with randing, and I stopped weaving. I stopped weaving with the two weavers right over where I started. I started here and here. This is where I inserted the first two into the sticks, and I stopped weaving right over it so that I will have an even number of rows. Now, a single round of pairing is not going to twist our base significantly. It's going to have a very mild effect, and it's not going to be seen. So I've chosen 4 rods here, 4 thick rods, and they're pretty short. Hopefully they'll be enough for the entire base. So I will just start at a random point. Let's start here and here. So now we're going to join butt to tip, and hopefully this will be enough to make the whole round, but maybe I'll even use the lock join here and not just a classic strong join. Right, yeah, this is the lock join. Second one. Alright, now since this is a lock join, this will get into this space here, like this. Being careful not to kink it. And it gets into the space, and it also gets hold of the end in the back, as you can see here. Yeah, so now the second one, and it gets in right here. Let's just make sure it doesn't kink. It did kink. It's pretty annoying, but we can live with that. Now, once again, I'm going to use my wrapping iron here to fasten the work. Beautiful. Now let's just get rid of these ends. Oh no, fibers. and in the back. Pretty unattractive kink here. And this last join here. Great. So this is our first rendered bass that has an odd number here on the sides, and the second one is going to have an even number in the sides, and we're going to see how to do that.